Hello and welcome to Miracle English Language and Literature Institute. I'm Professor Abha Sharma, and these days I'm doing the biographies of famous English authors and their literary attributes. The Middle English period is recognized by Chaucer and his Canterbury Tales and other dream allegories, William Langland's The Pious Plowman, John Gar's Confessio Mentis, and Wycliffe's translation of Bible. And now I'm going to take the next very important medieval poet, Pearl poet. His identity is not known, so he is often known as the Gawain poet. As I already told you that nothing much is known about this anonymous poet, but after reading the manuscripts, after reviewing his allusions, style and themes from the text, it was concluded in 1925 that he was a man of serious and devout mind, though not without humor. He had an interest in theology and some knowledge of it, though an amateur knowledge perhaps, rather than a professional. He had Latin and French and was well enough read in French books, both romantic and instructive. But his home was in the West Midlands of England. So much his language shows, and his meter and his scenery. So all this came into public, that the characteristics through his poems were attributed to the poet. There are 4 similar Middle English poems uniquely preserved in London British Library, and they are said to be written by the same poet, so maybe the Pearl poet. And these poems are Pearl, Cleanness, Patience, and Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. The 4 poems, they're all written in the same Northwest Midland dialect of Middle English. So, the first one, by which he is known more, that is the Pearl. It is one of the jewels in the crown of Middle English period, a real gem of the poem. This poem has elegy in it, dream vision in it, and Christian allegory in it. Pearl is an elegy for a dead child, a daughter who died at just 2 years of age. She is the pearl of the poem's title, and the poet uses this image for her throughout. The poem is narrated by the grieving parent of the lost child, who tells the reader of how he lost his pearl in a garden. After he falls asleep, his spirit is transported to a bright and wonderful land. On the other side of the stream by which he stands, he sees a beautiful maiden dressed in white, which is a symbol of purity, and wearing pearls, the spirit form of his lost daughter, telling him that he should not grieve for her death. The maiden reminds the poet that though the earthly form dies, the spiritual form will be kept alive in garden. The maiden tells our poet that she has become a bride of the Lord, and she has been crowned one of his queens in heaven. The poet isn't sure about all this, so this can be said as a dream vision, and he may be referring to Virgin Mary and of course allegory of Christ and Christianity. So a number of scholars have proposed that Pearl was written to commemorate the daughter of John Hastings, Earl of Pembroke. So these poems, the cleanness, that is purity, patience, and Pearl, they show the poet's knowledge of the Vulgate Bible. In Pearl, the poet shows clear knowledge of not only of the Apocalypse of St. John, but also many other parts of the Bible. It is possible that the poet consummated Latin commentaries and the Genesis. So the work makes use of major traditional elements of the Bible. In Pearl, he also shows the poet's understanding of mystical theology. It is pointed out that the dreamer's definition of his vision as a ghostly dream indicates the poet's familiarity with the classification of visions used by mystical theologians and mystics themselves. It is difficult to find evidence that the poet shared knowledge of classical poets such as Virgil or Ovid. Now we'll talk about the other creation of this Pearl poet, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. It is a late 14th century Middle English chivalric romance. It is one of the best known Arthurian stories, with its plot combining two types of folk motifs, the beheading game and the exchange of winnings. And this is also written in alliterative verse. So, it describes how Sir Gawain, a knight of King Arthur's Round Table, accepts a challenge from a mysterious green knight who dares any knight to strike him with his axe if he will take a return blow in a year and a day. Gawain accepts and beheads him with his blow, at which the Green Knight stands up, picks up his head, and reminds Gawain of the appointed time. In his struggles to keep his bargain, Gawain demonstrates chivalry and loyalty until his honor is called into question by a test involving Lady Bertilek, the lady of the Green Knight's castle. The poem survives in one manuscript, in which the other three narrative poems are also included. I've already told you about them: Pearl, Purity, and Patience. The 2,530 lines and 101 stanzas that make up Sir Gawain and the Green Knight are written in alliterative revival style typical of the 14th century. At the heart of Sir Gawain and Green Knights is the test of Gawain's adherence to the code of chivalry. The typical temptation fable of medieval literature presents a series of tribulation assembled as tests or proofs of moral virtue. The stories often describe several individuals' failures, after which the main character is tested. Success in the proofs will often bring immunity or good fortune. Gawain's ability to pass the test of the host are of utmost importance to his survival, though he does not know it. It is only by the instinct courtesy that Sir Gawain is able to pass his test. The chivalry that is represented with Gawain is one of which was constructed by court nobility. The violence that is part of this chivalry is steeply contrasted by the fact that King Arthur's court is Christian and the initial beheading event takes place while celebrating Christmas. The violence of an act of beheading seems to be counterintuitive to chivalric and Christian ideals, and yet it is seen as part of knighthood. The word gomen, Gomen, that means game, is found 18 times in Gawain. Its similarity to the word gome, that is man, Gome, gome, man, which appears 21 times, has led some scholars to see men and games as centrally linked. Games at this time were seen as tests of worthiness. The contradictory interpretations of the color green, its precise meaning in the poem remains ambiguous. In English folklore and literature, green was traditionally used to symbolize nature and its associated attributes, fertility and rebirth. Stories of the medieval period also used it to allude to love and the base desires of man. Because of its connection with fairies and spirits, in early English folklore, green also signified witchcraft, devilry, and evil. It can also represent decay and toxicity. When combined with gold, as when the Green Knight and the girdle Green was often seen as representing youth's passing. I hope you must have liked the facts which I have collected for you about the Pearl poet or the Gawain poet. And if you want to connect with Miracle for better understanding and deep knowledge of literature for any of your literature exams, please contact us at 9829121892, 9413157166. Also explore our website www.miraclewebstore.com. I'll be soon back with another video. Till then, take care. Bye bye.